Namaskar, everybody.
Namaskar.
Welcome to Vistara Circle. Namaskar, those of you on Facebook and on YouTube, welcome to Vistara Circle. Here at the Vistara Circle, we meet every week. We meet for yoga, we meet for kirtan, silent meditation, spiritual talk. This week, we are continuing our series on the chakras. So for the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about one chakra each week. This is our 5th week now in that series. And so today we are talking about the Vishudha Chakra, which is the 5th chakra, also known as the throat chakra. Okay, so thank you for those of you that are here. Thank you those of you that are tuning in. Hopefully you can join us sometime here in Alexandria during the week. We also meet in DC and in Rockville on the weekends. So every other Sunday we're either in DC or Rockville. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're talking about the 5th chakra today. And you might need some orientation for the other chakras. And for that, you can go ahead and watch the other videos that we've made about the previous 4 chakras. It will help you also to understand our discussion for tonight. Okay? So let's start off with just kind of talking about the theme of this chakra. And we will also connect with it. We'll do a short meditation in order to connect with this chakra as well. So the general theme, in my opinion, I think there's 2 themes, but in my opinion, the general themes for this chakra are, number 1, sound, okay? Which is very appropriate because, you know, the vocal cords are here in the throat, right? So to me, sound, and you'll notice why I say that, sound is a general theme in this chakra. And then also transformation, okay? So I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. Why don't we take a moment to connect with the chakra, okay? So I invite you all to please sit in meditation position. And like we did last week, we'll go on a little journey through the chakras first, and then we will end in the Vishuddha Chakra. And if you are sitting comfortably at home, or if you'd like to just close your eyes wherever you are right now, those of you that are watching this, feel free to join us as we do this. Before we go into this, actually, we need to look at the characteristics. That'll help us for our visualization. All right, so so let's talk about that first then. So the first thing is that the color. What is the color of this chakra? All of the chakras, you know, when they were first sort of discovered by these ancient yogis, they were visualized in a certain way, with a certain shape. So this Vishuddha Chakra, the color is multicolor. Okay? It is like a rainbow of colors. And as you can see here in the image that you have in front of you, and also in a moment you'll be able to see they can see the okay, thank you. So the chakra is being shown. As you can see there from that image, it's multicolored and it is also shapeless. This chakra has no shape. Does anybody remember the shape of the Anahata chakra, the heart chakra?
6 hexagon?
Yeah, like a hexagon or a 6-pointed star, right? And anybody remember the shape of the Manipura chakra?
Triangle?
A triangle. A red triangle.
Square.
Yeah, the Muladhara, the one on the base, is a square. So this chakra has no shape. All right, it's different from all the other ones. Basically, because it has no shape, it can kind of take on any shape. It has this sort of, I don't know if this is the right word, alchemical, or this like alchemy component to it, that it can kind of transform and take on any shape. That's why it is just sort of like a swirl of colors. Okay? So there is no shape. It is multicolored. The element is ether. Okay? And we may need to define that. Ether means space. So traditionally, you know, when we think of the 4 elements of the universe, we think of fire, think of water, right? Earth, and air. But a fifth element or a fifth factor in the universe is ether. And so the factor that this chakra controls is the ethereal factor. And what do we mean by ether? We mean space. Okay? So, remember I said that the general theme of this chakra, in my opinion, was sound? Did I say that?
Yes.
I said that, right?
Yes.
Was sound. I also said that another theme for this chakra was transformation. Okay? Hence the fact that it has no shape, which means it can transform into any shape. And the other theme is sound. Now, here it is very clear to identify it as sound, and you'll understand that when we go through the vrittis, which are the different emotions located in the petals, that'll be more clear then. But what's interesting about this is that all of the chakras actually govern a different sense, okay? A different sense that human beings have. So for example, the Muladhara chakra, the base chakra, it governs the sense of smell, okay? Smell. So, and does anybody remember the factor that the Muladhara controls, or the element?
Earth.
Earth. So then the factor is solids, okay? And solids smell. If I take a banana right now, and I smell the banana, I smell something, right? But on the other hand, can I smell light? No, light has no smell, okay? But solids do. So then each of these chakras correlates with a different, sense. And so then the Svadhisthana chakra is taste. That governs our sense of taste. And does anybody remember the factor that the Svadhisthana chakra controls?
Water.
Liquids. Exactly. And can't you taste water?
Arguably, but yeah, it has some kind of taste.
Okay, exactly. Arguably. I happen to think that it has a great taste.
I think so. It just has a peculiar taste.
Yeah, I love the taste of water, but some people are like, it has no taste. But to me, it clearly
It definitely does, yeah.
It just tastes,
Especially alkaline.
like the combination of like metals that you taste.
Yeah, it tastes like the
It's not like
It
grape.
tastes like life.
Okay, it tastes
Well,
like
if
life.
you're getting like very clean
She's got the
water.
best
It depends what kind of water you're drinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you drink like bottled spring water. If I just
If-
drink like
if
tap
we
water.
were-
Tastes like
Tap
that.
water. When you are very thirsty and you have water and you're like, wow, this is amazing. It's like
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
water.
Oh,
It's
Fresh
tastes
water.
like
Fresh
something.
water.
Fresh
Cold
water.
water,
Remember
cold
tap
fresh
water. It's like
Well, tap water
no, it doesn't.
Okay, so you were right, Marcos. Arguably,
No, but it has some
water
kind
has a taste, and it is debatable as to what exactly it tastes like. Okay, so you see, there's a correlation there. It's the liquid, it governs liquids, and also there is controlled our sense of taste. Now, in the Manipura chakra is our sense of sight. Okay? Because light, can you hear light?
No.
You cannot hear light. You can only what? See light. That is why Manipura controls our sense of sight, and we can see light. Then the Anahata, the factor that it controls is, anybody remember? Air. Okay, and the sense that the Anahata controls is touch, because can't you feel air?
Oh, against your skin, yeah.
If you open up like this, the wind will blow on your shirt, and you can feel the breeze on your face. If you're on a motorcycle, you can really feel air. It's going to blast in your face. So then Anahata is touch, and it is air. And so now we're at Vishuddha. So Vishuddha is the sense of sound. It controls our sense of sound. And what is the factor that the Vishuddha chakra controls? It controls space. And so sound has the capacity to travel through space. If we are in a large room, and I call out, I say somebody's name, right? You will be able to hear me because the sound can travel through the space. Okay? So that is why here, the Vishuddha chakra has that. And so we'll say one more thing. Isn't it interesting how powerful music is? Music is so powerful. Here tonight at the Vistara Circle, before we did silent meditation, we sang kirtan. And so we sang, kirtan is when you sing a mantra, right? As we did here earlier. And so, you can get more into a mantra actually if you sing it, if there's melody to it. It's easy to go into the mood of the mantra because there might be a beautiful melody that can touch your emotions. Music has the capacity to touch our emotions, right? I turn on a piece of romantic music, you feel like being romantic with somebody,
Yeah.
right? If we turn on some music that goes dun dun dun, right? It makes you feel scared. Okay, so then so sound is going to be a theme here, and sound is connected with music. And so this chakra is very subtle and very powerful because it even controls the most subtle sense of ourself, which is our sense of sound. So much can happen thanks to sound. If somebody screams at you, it can totally disturb your mind. But if somebody speaks to you in a very sweet way, it can totally relax you. So sound is so powerful, and this chakra is very powerful. It's also very mysterious. Okay, it's as powerful as the sense of sound. So let's connect with the chakra. One more thing we'll do before we do the little meditation to connect with it is talk about its root sound. Every chakra has its own acoustic sound. And the acoustic sound of this chakra is hum. It is spelled H-A-M, but it is pronounced like I hung my jacket. Okay? So basically then, if you want to say the sound of this chakra, and you want to, and of course, when you say it, it helps to make the chakra appear, or it helps to vibrate the chakra. So then you'd want to say it like this, like hum, and you want to elongate the last part, hum. So we'll try that today. Okay, we'll try that in our meditation right now. So let's go ahead, please, and close the eyes. And bring your mind to the base of your spine. And visualize down there a golden square. The golden square that is the Muladhara chakra, with 4 petals. And imagine that you can go into the center of the Muladhara chakra, the center of that golden square, as if you could touch its nucleus. Take your mind to that point. Go inside and then go up to the next chakra, the Svadhisthana chakra, located just about 4 fingers above it. The Svadhisthana chakra is a crescent white moon. The color is a rich, milky white. And also, as you're visualizing that chakra, visualize its center. And go into its point there in the center of the chakra. If you'd like, as we go through these chakras, just imagine that you can see the color and nothing else once you've gone inside the chakra. So for example, right now, all you can see is milky white. And find the nucleus of this chakra, the central point, and go inside that point and then upward, up to the Manipura chakra in the navel area, which is a red triangle. And so go inside the chakra and just see the color red. And find the nucleus of the chakra, the central point, and take your mind inside of there, and then continue to go upward. Landing now in the center of the chest where the Anahata Chakra is. And its shape is a 6-pointed star or a hexagon shape. And its color is smoky gray-green. And go inside the chakra and just imagine that that's all you can see is that color. A greenish gray. Find the central point of the chakra and take your mind inside of there. And now go ahead and journey upward again through the Anahata Chakra up to the center of the throat, like where the Adam's apple would be. And there picture the Vishuddha Chakra, which is just like a swirl of rainbow lights. A swirl of beautiful different colors. It has no shape. It is essentially all shapes. It has no color. It is essentially all color. And go inside this beautiful chakra. Become attracted to its beauty, to its multiple colors. Think about the element that it controls, which is space. Think of the space right now that we are in. Think of all of the space that exists in the universe. The space between your fingers, the space between your breaths, the space between your thoughts. And find the chakra's nucleus, its central point. And we will try to vibrate this chakra by saying its acoustic root sound, which is Hum. And so let's try that together. We'll do it 3 times. Hum. Hum. And let's open the eyes. Does anybody feel any kind of sensation there in the throat area?
Yeah, well, when you make, well, I mean, just from the chanting itself, whenever you use your vocal cords, like it all vibrates.
Definitely. Okay. So, all right. So then, now let's go ahead and talk about the different petals. There's a Sanskrit word for these petals. It is called vritti. And each of the petals of the chakra, they house or they control a certain emotion in the human condition. Okay? And we're kind of have gone beyond the scary ones. The scary vrittis are in the lower chakras, right? Now you'll notice that these chakras, these vrittis, these mental propensities are more sublime. Okay? They're the more nobler qualities of human beings. So, all right, so let's start with Sadaja. Does everybody see that one? Sadaja. Okay. Now, remember I said that this chakra controls sound. You know what's amazing about this chakra? Is that what the yogis identified from this chakra when they observed the petals of the chakra, is that the first 7, let's look at the first 7 now. Sadaja, Rishabha, Gandhara, Madhyama, Panchama, Devata, and Nishada. Those 7 vrittis are actually the 7 notes of the musical scale. That's what they represent. Okay? So, you know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, right? In India, it's different. It's the same sounds, but a different word for each note. Okay? But these 7 vrittis are those 7 notes. So, so there again we go into the nature of this chakra. It's nature of alchemy. That think of what you can do with the musical notes. You can put them together, make a harmony. You can weave them in a certain way. We have musicians here tonight. We can weave them in a certain way and make a song. So what this chakra is all about is about taking something and transforming it into something greater. I can take these 2 vrittis and transform them into a piece of music that's going to create a certain emotion for people. Okay? So now the way that these sounds are discovered is like this. Let me think. I guess I'll give you some feedback. Oh, I'll have to give a little background before we talk about each individual one. So I hope you didn't write down that these are like do, re, mi, fa, sol. No, that's not it. They have a different name. They mean something different, okay? So a little bit of background. So there is Sadashiva, or Shiva. He is known as the founder of Tantra. And it is believed that he existed about 7,000 years ago. Shiva, he was a guru. He was a very, very enlightened guru. And so he is the founder, not the inventor of Tantra, but he systematized Tantra in a similar way to how we say Patanjali systematized the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Patanjali did not invent them, he just put them together in a nice package. Likewise, Shiva, he put together many of the tantric practices of his day, put them together, and called it Tantra. Now, in Shiva's time, human beings were very, very uncivilized. Very, very uncivilized. Okay, they didn't have almost any intellectual capacity. They had some, but very, very limited compared to today. And one of the things that they did not have was music. It's actually interesting to think about, right? Like, what are the roots of music? Where did they come from? So it is said that Shiva put together the musical notes of the scale and taught those notes to people so they could create music. And where did he find the notes? How did he identify them? He found them through the different sounds of different animals. Okay? So Sadaja, the first one, is the sound of a peacock. So we can write that down. Sadaja means sound of a peacock. So basically then, the sound that a peacock would make is the sound of that first note in the C scale. Do. Okay? So he got that sound from a peacock. So Sadaja is sound of a peacock. It's also there as the vrittis of the chakra. Then we have Rishabha. Rishabha means sound of a bull or ox. So think of a sound that a bull makes or a cow makes, moo. Okay? So that sound, human beings were able to get that do, re, that sound we got from the sound of a cow. Okay, a sound of a bull or an ox, I'm sorry. Yes?
Like, is that, so that sound, right, is supposed to sound like a cow.
Yeah, bull or ox or cow.
In terms
That's
of,
where
I don't hear the resemblance.
In terms of, like,
a moo
frequency,
and that
though.
sound frequency. Yeah, in terms of frequency, I don't hear it.
it would be something to study. I would love to study that.
Yeah,
Listen
that's
to these
deep.
sounds of these animals and find the correlation with the musical scale.
Because maybe we do it, but it's not like the way they actually do it.
Some of them have deeper voices than others.
Of course, this has been refined.
Yeah.
That sound was discovered from there, and then now we've refined it. You know, now it's like very clear in our minds, especially if you have perfect pitch or if you know a little bit about music, you know those notes in the scale. The third one is Gandhara. Gandhara means the sound of a goat.
Mhm.
Okay? Next is Madhyama. Madhyama is the sound of a deer. Which, as far as I know, is not a very attractive sound. But we won't be negative tonight.
I don't know.
It's even hard to know what the sound of a deer is.
It makes a weird noise.
Right, okay. Then we have Panchama. Panchama is the sound of a cuckoo. Okay, so sound of a bird. Sound of a cuckoo. Different from the peacock, obviously. And then we have Devata. Devata is the sound of a donkey. And then the next one, Nishada, is... Now, can anybody guess? What is one animal that makes a really high-pitched sound? Because this would be, the higher note in the
Donkey.
scale. Well, a donkey's right beneath that, Devata.
Right.
So, after that, think of an elephant that makes a beautiful note, like a trumpet. Elephant. You know? So, Nishada is the sound of an elephant. And those are the first 7 vrittis. Those sounds of different animals. And we use those sounds to create endless amounts of sounds. As a musician myself and as a lover of music, I am amazed how you can write a song every day. New songs are made every day with the same notes.
Mm-hmm.
Different combinations of them, different tempos. It's just beautiful. And this chakra helps with that. I'll share with you an experience that I had. When we were visiting Latvia, we got to go to a festival, a singing festival in the country of Latvia. The people of Latvia, singing is a big thing in Latvia. So actually, in fact, when the communists invaded Latvia, one of the ways that they rebelled was by singing like political songs or revolutionary songs that had code language. So there was like code language, like they weren't being explicit, but in the songs about freedom, about this, about many different themes, they were speaking to the Russians, telling them, we don't want you here. and in Latvia, every 4 years, imagine that, every 4 years, like the World Cup is every 4 years, every 4 years they have the singing festival, where in one location over 20,000 people sing. And so it is quite an experience.
That must be a sight to see or hear.
That is a sound to hear,
There you go.
right? To hear 20,000 people singing at the same time. And so I got to go to that singing festival, and one of the beautiful things about being aware of the chakras and being aware of what they control is that in your experiences in life, you can find ways to connect with the chakras. For example, one time I also went scuba diving. So as I was exploring the underwater world, I just imagined the whole time that I was in my Svadhisthana chakra. And so I said, as I was under the water, I said, the Vong sound, and thought about the chakra, and imagined that I was inside the chakra. And then that memory now helps me for when if I want to meditate on the Svadhisthana chakra, I can just remember the time that I was underwater, and it'll give me a good visual to connect with my Svadhisthana chakra. So then, in our life, there's many different times we can connect with the chakras. If I'm washing my hands, I can connect in that moment with Svadhisthana. If it's raining, maybe one time I'll be meditating on my second chakra, and to get into it, I might think about rain, because I've had experiences under the rain. So on this occasion that I was at the singing festival, I thought, let me connect with the Vishuddha Chakra. So during the whole concert, I had my eyes closed for maybe like 80 or 90% of it. And the whole time, I tried to go inside this chakra. And as I heard the different sounds coming from the different voices, I felt like they were touching these different vritis. Like the beautiful melodies were, swirling, playing around with these different pedals as if they were like a little piano, and I could hear the music interweave. And I did that for so long, because it was like a 3-hour, 4-hour concert, that I felt like I went into a sort of trance state. It was very beautiful. And then I thought to myself, wow, if being here is so beautiful, I wish I could go into the middle of them and be in the center of those 20,000 people and try to hear their voices coming from all around me and try to experience the chakra from there. So it's actually very beautiful to understand the chakras, because then our mundane everyday experiences, they will connect with your chakras in one way or another. And so it's nice to remember to connect with the chakra as we have different experiences. Okay? So that was very nice. That was a very nice experience. And I invite you to try that. Maybe the next time you're
in Latvia.
Yes. Okay.
That must be beautiful though. Oh my goodness.
A concert like that?
Yeah, so many people. 20,000 you said?
Yeah.
Oh goodness gracious.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead. One more thing, like the theme of this chakra is not just sound, also transformation. And in Latvia, people can be very reserved, very kind of quiet and reserved. Not like in Brazil, where people are like, oh, hey, I just met you, give me a hug. How are you? Where have you been all my life, let me give you a kiss. Let me give you another kiss. Think about the carnival in Brazil. People are half naked, running around the streets, and they're so extroverted. But in other countries, people are very introverted. Like, I don't know, maybe in China, maybe in Latvia, you can see that as part of the culture. But when they were in the singing festival, and when the Latvian people were singing, I thought I was in Vegas. Like in some big show, like where people are just so out there and enjoying it. And it was so beautiful. When usually people that are somewhat serious, not so emotionally expressive, are suddenly being so incredibly expressive through music, through this chakra. So this chakra has the capacity to transform things. It has the capacity to take something in your life and change it. And it gives you the power to know things. If you control this chakra, you also become more psychic. Okay? This chakra gives you knowledge of the past, the present that you cannot see, and the future. So those people who we consider to be very psychic are people that have this chakra very developed. So let's go ahead then and continue and get on to Om. Okay? Om. It's above Nishada. Om is the sound that we're very familiar with, that in your local yoga studio, at the end of the class, sometimes the yoga teacher will say, Namaste. Let's end with a Om.
Together, yeah.
Let's do the Om together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So that sound is in the Vishuddha Chakra. And that sound is the sound of creation, preservation, and destruction.
Oh, well, so it's all three up in there.
They say that the sound Om, if you were to kind of zoom out into the universe, and if you were to hear, imagine right now if you could hear the cacophony of every sound happening at the same time, all the sounds in the world, the cars honking, the I don't know, the elephants, making sound, the people talking, the people singing. That collection of sounds is supposed to be the sound that you hear reverberating in the universe, that in the end sounds like Om sound. Okay? And here, so that's what that vritti is there. And so, you see, just having that there, it's hard for us to explain intellectually. It has to do with some of the things, the virtues that this chakra gives you, like psychic capacity, like connecting with something more elevated and spiritual. We need faculties to do that, right? So some of them are here. And it's the sound. You see, they say that for example, in the Bible, it says, the first thing that was created was the word. And in yoga, we have the same thing. We have Om, the sound of creation. And in Western science, there's the Big Bang. And I don't know to what extent they literally mean like a sound, but just the word is a, what's that word? Onomatopoeia, a word that sounds like the sound.
That's all right. Bang.
Bang.
Pow.
Right. So the Big Bang. There was first a sound. And so that means that the first thing that had to be created in the universe was space. Because if there was no space, there could be no sound to travel. So the universe was created through a sound, and at the same time space had to be created. And then now we'll do this quickly since we touched upon that. So that's here, right, in this chakra. So then after space was created, then lots of gases were created. Hydrogen, all these different gases were created at first before anything else in the universe. So what is that? That is air. Oxygen, that is air. And where is that? In this chakra. And in order to perceive air, you need to create touch. Or else how could you know it exists? So then touch was also, the sense of touch was created in the universe. God had to be able, Supreme Consciousness had to be able to touch what it was creating. And then Manipura, light. And then what do the scientists tell us what was created after these gases? Well, for example, this planet used to be one ball of fire. So fire, and that can and fire, how can you perceive fire if you can't see it? So then Supreme Consciousness had to create sight. And where is sight? In the Manipura chakra. And then what happened to the earth after it was a big ball of fire? It cooled down over time, and it became a planet full of what? Water. And that is why in our planet, it's like, I don't know, 70% water? I don't know the figure, but it's mostly water. We're mostly water, right? And so, where is the liquid factor? In the Spadhisthana chakra. And how can you experience water fully? We drink it, right? So you have to taste it. And then, from the water, little solids became created, little amoebas, little algae, and those were the first solid organisms. Well, not the first, but at least in our planet, the first solids. And so that is where? In the Muladhara chakra. And these solids smell. If you take a piece of seaweed, if you take a fish, oh my God, does it smell? Right? Even if it's in a cooler, you can smell it. If you yourself start to smell if you don't put water on yourself. No, in fact, you have a smell. Your dog knows exactly what it is. I can't tell you what it is, but your dog might know exactly what it is. So, you see, all of creation is mapped out in these 7 chakras.
It's so interesting. So you have to, it was created from up, down, in, and then you sort of journey your way back up.
Thank you for coming tonight, Marcus. Thank you for putting it all. Exactly. You said it all. That is why we start with the Muladhara chakra. Right? And that is why, you see, now you are a solid unit. Okay, you are a solid unit. Right? If I take a brick and I throw it on the ground, I'm going to get little units. But if I take water and I pour it in onto the floor, and then I try to sweep it back up and put it in the cup, the water will be one again. But the solids, I can never put them back together. They will always be solid unless I glue them or I jam them. But the liquid can be one. The fire, if I have 5 fires here, if I put them together, I have 1 fire. But if I have 5 solids, I still have 5 solids. I can't merge them together. So, you see, we human beings, so then the universe created solids. And then out of the different solids, mind was created. You see, so then these unit creations like algae and then fish and then reptiles and then animals, their minds get gradually more sophisticated, gradually more subtle, until now we have a human being solid, but with the mind that is super powerful. Because just like you said, we human beings are now closer and closer to the mind of the Creator. Because enough so that we can connect with the Creator. We can meditate on the Creator. We can meditate on Supreme Consciousness. And why is that possible? Because Supreme Consciousness gave us a mind to do that. If Supreme Consciousness did not want us to connect with it, it wouldn't have given us the capacity to do it. We can only meditate because the Supreme at some point said, okay, for these little beings to come back to me, I have to give them the faculties to do that. So I have to, I want them to think about me. I'm going to, it can't happen without that. So, so then you're right. So our meditation then is the journey up through the chakras and going up to the point of creation, up to the source.
Which is where we're from anyways, kind of.
Exactly. Okay, so it's kind of like, a cycle. We started here in creation, then we were space, air, light, water, solids, and then different solids, animals, reptiles, animals, human being with the mind to now try to connect with the first mind, the Supreme Mind. And so we do meditation to kind of take ourselves there.
It's the Alpha and the Omega.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. You see the word there, H-U-M? It is actually pronounced, let me tell you what it means. It means, I won't say the sound just yet. It means the sound of the Kundalini rising. Okay, so that's this one. And it is pronounced like this. Okay? So that sound is the sound when the Muladhara chakra releases your spiritual energy, releases the Kundalini. That is why sometimes you might be in a room with meditators, some tantric yogis, and you'll just hear them in their meditation make that sound because they are trying to lift off their Kundalini.
Wow.
Okay?
That's great.
Do you all know the famous Tibetan Buddhist mantra? Om. Anybody know it?
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Yes. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's this sound. And there's another sound there too. Om. So Om Mani Padme Hum. So Tibetan Buddhism comes from Tantra. And so this is one way we see a correlation. That mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, does anybody know what it means?
From what I've heard, it means that the jewel in the lotus will set you free, something like that.
Yes, something like that.
It's not a part of Tibetan Buddhism, though. It's a part of more towards South Asia, like Sri Lankan.
Like Sri Lankan Tantra or?
No, Buddhism.
The Buddhist.
Like
Buddhism.
that mantra isn't really present in Tibetan Buddhism at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard the Dalai Lama interpret it. You might find a quote, and of course, if it doesn't originate from Tibetan Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhists use it. It's quite possible, like you're saying, Avi, that it comes from another area of Buddhism. But in Tibetan Buddhism now, it's used, and in fact, you can even go into a shop and buy a bracelet that says the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. Okay, and Marcos, you said then, can you tell us the meaning again?
The jewel in the lotus will set you free, or
Okay.
set me free.
Okay, yes, something like that. Now, another way to interpret that is that the lotus flower sometimes symbolizes wisdom. So, it means that I begin a journey, like I'm beginning something, from a crude state. And I go and I acquire, let's say, the jewel, which is a metaphor for something else, but then I acquire the knowledge. I get on a path, and I culminate in Hum, like you said, the path will end in my freedom, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Or the path will end in my spiritual transformation. So that little mantra, it has 6 syllables. It's kind of like a journey through the chakras. Okay? Just like our mantra, Baba Nam Kevalam, the mantra that we use, also has 6 syllables. Next time you're singing Baba Nam Kevalam, go ahead and try imagining that there's Baba Nam Kevalam. Try to visualize, say, the Kundalini going through each chakra as you sing the mantra. I would recommend, I don't know if Tibetan Buddhists use the mantra in this way, but taking the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra and also going through the chakras. And then that last sound, Hum, is this idea of spiritual elevation or spiritual freedom or spiritual transformation. And what I like about how the Dalai Lama interpreted the mantra is that he said that we are in a process of transformation, we human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is why we get on a spiritual path, take on a spiritual technique. So that we said here too in our first talk that the Kundalini symbolizes the spiritual journey. Well, the spiritual journey has to end somewhere, or has to culminate to something. And it's just like, it's the culmination of how the Kundalini gets all the way to the top, and then you experience a transformation of your being. One day, today you're human. Let's hope in your next life you're not a dog. Because human beings can backtrack in our, in our evolution. As your mind leaves your body when you die and then takes on another body, if you have a lot of animal tendencies, your whole life it was very crude, lots of crude thoughts, lots of animal tendencies. Well, it's really that mind, it'll be hungry for something, let's say hungry for meat, and it could take on the body of a wolf just so it can chow down on the next piece of meat out there. So then hopefully we want to evolve from this point and transform into something else, something more divine.
It's hard to do spiritual work when you're a wolf.
Can't humans chow down on meat too?
Humans chow down on meat, and
You don't have to be a wolf to...
exactly, you could be just another human, a baby whose parents have a I don't even know what they're called.
Butchery?
A butchery.
Butcher shop, maybe.
And the baby will crawl and get to the meat as fast as possible and take it and put it in his mouth and, okay, this is what I've been wanting all along. So, okay. Anyways, so that transformation in that mantra is kind of the spirit of this chakra transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to the next one. Fat. Okay? I think it's something like that. It means putting theory into practice. Okay? Putting theory into practice. So whenever somebody has an idea and they put it into practice, they're in this vritti. I don't believe this word exists, but I've heard it used. Practication. The act of putting some theoretical concept into actual concrete applicability. Okay? So putting theory into practice. We maybe, like when you first learned how to drive, you knew that the key goes in that hole. The steering wheel if you go left, it goes left. You move it right, it goes right. You know that in theory, but when you put it into practice, it's like a sense of realization. And when you have that, you're in this vritti. But the place of knowledge realization is in this chakra. The Ajnana chakra is kind of like where the mind is. And also where knowledge is controlled. Okay? But anyway, so then that's what this one means. Phat, putting theory into practice. Then we have Vaushat. Vaushat, now here's another connection to sound. It means expression of mundane knowledge. Expression of mundane knowledge. So, what I do for a living is I'm a teacher, right? I teach English. And so I think about this briefly when I'm teaching English. When I'm teaching somebody, where to put commas. In that moment, I'm expressing mundane knowledge. Okay? When you are reciting some information for class, or when you and your accountant are talking about the numbers of your business, and you're expressing mundane knowledge. Oh, last year we made 40,000. This year, let's try to make 50,000. That is this vritti, the expression, the sound, the expression of the mundane. Okay, of mundane knowledge. So teachers, I'm going to come back to this one, okay, as we get through to the last vritti, but a teacher has to be knowledgeable. It's not enough that you know the knowledge. It's also, can you explain it so that others can know it? That is even more important. So, in order to have that capacity, you need to have this chakra developed. If this chakra is not, think of the people who are very quiet. Those of our friends that we know that don't really talk much. Right? We all have friends like that. Those friends are not so good with expressing stuff. Mundane knowledge or anything, right? So, if they were to work on this chakra and strengthen it more, doing the asanas, like the shoulder stand, where, legs are in the air, you're holding your back up with your hands, and chin is on the chest. There you are working the Vishuddha Chakra, okay? Allowing, pressurizing and depressurizing there in order for better hormone secretion. So if you are working on that chakra, it will help to boost your capacity to express things, express mundane knowledge. Have you ever had a situation where you love somebody and you don't know how to tell them something? Or when there's something that you need to tell somebody, like something important, and you're a little nervous. Should I tell them? Should I not tell them? And then you finally do tell them. Your capacity to do that is improved if this chakra is developed. Okay? So let's go on to the next one, Vashat. So there's the Vasat. So Vaushat, Vasat. One day we'll have a class on the Roman Sanskrit sounds. Like here, unfortunately, there's no uchis. There's no, accent mark, so we don't know. So if you had the accents and you knew how to read them, then you would know if it's either sh or s or sa or something like that. Okay? Anyways, so here we have vasat, for lack of a better pronunciation. So vasat means welfare in the subtle sphere, or welfare in the psychic sphere. Okay? So, what do we mean by the psychic sphere? What do we mean by the subtle sphere? We mean the mind. Anytime we are in the subtle body, we are in the mind. What makes up the subtle body? The chakras. We have our physical body, right? And all the organs in the physical body. But inside this body is also our mind. That's why, people have out-of-body experiences. Oh my God, I'm out of my body. So when they go back into their body, then their mind is back. So you see, our body is a home. It is a vehicle for our mind. And our mind is a vehicle for our soul. Our soul is trapped in our mind. So therefore, any welfare in the subtle sphere, welfare in the psychic sphere, means the capacity to be in the mind, the capacity to understand the chakras. So it's correlated with that, the experience of the psychic. Okay? Life is not just physical, right? There's also psychic. I can tell things from your body language that you don't need to tell me, right? There's something psychic there.
So the subtle body is almost like those aspects of us that can't be localized, like it can't be pinned down and pointed to, like dissected.
The aspects of us that are the mind.
Okay. That includes the chakras?
Yes, because the chakras, another narrative to think of the chakras is, it is like your mind subdivided into 7 categories. Your mind spread out into 7 things. So the chakras are kind of like, since it has all of our emotions, all of our feelings, all of our faculties, and then those are located in the chakras. So then the chakras are like a spectrum of the mind, where the mind can travel at any given moment. Okay? So that's vasat, welfare in the psychic sphere. Svaha. Svaha means performing noble actions. Okay? Performing noble actions. So, think of, for example, sometimes here think of a noble action like service. We have here one of our principles, one of our yama niyama principles is tapa. Tapa means sacrifice. Service that involves some kind of sacrifice. Okay? If a rich man sees a homeless person and gives them $10, that's nice. That's a nice gesture. It'll make his mind a little more pure. It'll help that person to do such a nice gesture. But it's a service that doesn't involve much sacrifice. You know what I mean? $10 for a person with $1 million in the bank is nothing. So on the other hand, if they sacrifice a little bit of their time, if they sacrifice a little bit of their time to help this person, then it's a service that has a little more sacrifice involved. Okay? So the capacity to serve and to sacrifice is in this chakra. And one of the ways to determine if a person is spiritually evolved, these days, in the world of yoga, we have many yoga teachers, many meditation teachers who think that they're very evolved. I do yoga every day and I post it on Instagram. I'm so woke.
I can put my foot over my head, no problem.
Right, I'm very woke, right? And of course we're not trying to put anybody down. We're just trying to, make a point. You see, how then can we tell if somebody is more spiritually developed? Is it because they have beautiful pictures on Instagram where they're doing spiritual things? Does that connotate a truly advanced spiritual person? No.
I don't think so.
One of the ways you can tell if somebody is very spiritually advanced or if their meditation is working is how much do they sacrifice? How much do they sacrifice for others? Are they teaching meditation but also getting a nice paycheck out of it? Are they teaching yoga, but, well anyways, how much sacrifice is involved? That is how you can tell that somebody is more spiritually developed. Think of Jesus. What are the ways we associate Jesus? We think of Jesus as he washed the feet of the disciples. He sacrificed for our sins. He gave his life. You see, and Jesus is one of the most advanced spiritual archetypes of our society. And he symbolizes sacrifice. Even how the Catholics still remember him. When you go to a Catholic church, there is Jesus with a crown of thorns, nailed to a cross, bleeding. And they say, he sacrificed himself for us.
Oh yeah, in Mexican Catholic churches, oh my God, it's like, you walk everywhere and it's overwhelming. You're like, they did that to him? They portray it all over.
But so you see, but what we can sometimes that might seem kind of strange, right? Why is the teacher still there, sacrifice? But it can remind us, we can see the positive side and say, this is what a spiritual person ought to do, is serve people and serve without fearing to sacrifice. He gave the ultimate sacrifice, that's it. He gave his life, is the story, right? So we as spiritualists should endeavor to not have a life that is easy. Many of us want a very easy life. Oh, I want this great job. I'll go to church on Sunday. Then I want to go on vacations and I want to do this and I want to travel and I want to have a nice car and I want my children to do this and that. And a lot of times we're just thinking easy. I want an easy life. I want everything to be easy. And then when something isn't easy, we get upset. Right? We get upset. Like we buy that beautiful car, but then the tire pops. And now we're upset because we want that car to just work perfectly. We don't want any obstacles. We want everything to be easy. Like my students, they want an A. And they want it to be easy. You mean I have to do homework? You mean I have to study? You mean I have to write papers? But we as spiritualists should flip it and say, I don't need an easy life. I don't desire an easy life. I can sacrifice for others. Sacrifice will be my asset. I don't need a path that is strung with roses. I can walk on petals to get to enlightenment. It'll be so easy, so beautiful. You'll get there by way of service.
Suffering is truly grace. It's the grist for the mill. Like the substrate that your growth spiritually and emotionally sort of grows on. When you're like faced with a traumatic experience, you either grow from it or you like double down and you become twice as much personality that you thought you were. You like become resentful and hate the world and say, oh, they shouldn't have cut me off and this and that, instead of learning and gaining wisdom from the hardships that you face every day.
Yeah.
It's that stuff from which you grow. Because if everything's handed to you, you never learn anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Think of relationships. We want, I want to be a happy relationship. Honey, let's not fight. I'm not saying look for fights, but we have that fantasy in our minds. Oh, in my perfect relationship, we'll never fight, we'll never have problems, right? But in fact, there are obstacles, there are problems. And like you said, we grow from them. And we shouldn't desire the easy. When we desire the easy, we get disappointed. Better to be practical and say, there's going to be obstacles on this path. And on the spiritual path, there will be sacrifices to be made. Sometimes, when I'm at an airport and there's nothing to eat, I might want to just have that hot dog that they have there. Now, I'm not saying this is a big sacrifice, it's just a small example. But no, I won't eat that. I'll sacrifice my taste buds for something greater.
Can I tell a real quick story that sort of relates almost exactly to that? I was listening to Ram Dass talking. He was talking about how he would go to speak, and he had this certain microphone that he would ask them to bring him because he didn't want the ones that come on a stand. He wanted one that he could like sort of move around. And so he got to like this place in Wisconsin or Iowa and something like that, and he walks on stage, and everyone's happy to see him. And he sees on stage, and there's a microphone on a stand. And immediately his mind goes to, oh, I told them I wanted this microphone, and he gets like upset. And then as he gets upset, he realizes that he's been had almost. And he says that he imagined that his guru came out of like the ether and came in the form of the microphone just to like test him, to say, all right, phony holy you, let's see how spiritual you really are. Like, is this going to bug you, or are you going to be upset, and lash out? Or are you going to take the cards as they were dealt to you and not have the hot dog?
You know what I love about your story is that what he did in that moment is he made the obstacle his friend. He saw the obstacle as his guru. And if we could befriend our obstacles, we would suffer much less as we try to work through them. Okay. Thank you. Good story.
I would say it's easier when you connect with the darkness that you feel within, because when you gravitate more towards the light, it's more like a strain. What you're going through is something that you need to be able to connect with. You know what I'm saying? So, feeling that type of feeling is not always a bad thing. You just got to be able to connect with it, because even through chaos and through some of the things that happen, even in our world, there's been some, brightness on the other side. So
definitely, think of the Civil War. Thank God we had a Civil War where people bled so that we can end slavery, for example, right? Or any revolution. Some people are very pacifist, right? They just want the light, so to speak. They don't see how sometimes the dark can lead. You have to go through the dark, let's say, to find the light, so you have to have a revolution, in order to create something better.
You journey through the underworld and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something that Jordan Peterson said, who's a famous psychologist. He says that there's nothing noble about a person who's weak and can't hurt someone. Just because you can't do harm, that doesn't make you a good person. What makes good and strong people is the ability to destroy and to like manipulate and do all these terrible things, but that propensity is within you in the form of these prittis, and you control it, and you become someone who is capable of taking what you want, but you don't, and you're sort of very controlled, like a controlled folly, like controlled anarchy almost. Like you know your propensities for evil, and because you know that, you don't do it. Not like someone who thinks that, I could never do anything like that, and then they're faced with a situation and they don't know, they say, I just found myself doing it. Because they never had an idea in their head that they could possibly hurt someone, but then that stimulus comes and someone cuts them off and they're like, oh damn it, and they crash their car into them, because they didn't know that propensity for evil was inside them. So you have to control that. You have to control your shadow self. Yep. Exactly.
Very nice. So this next one here is Nama. Nama means surrender. Okay? In particular, surrender to the Supreme. Nama, like we say, for example, people say namaste, right? In a lot of Sanskrit chants, when they're doing a reverence, let's say, to Krishna or to Shiva, it's namastubhyam. Namastubhyam virupaksha namaste divya chakshushe. These are some shlokas that are said to honor Shiva or to honor Krishna. And so there's that word nama. The way to honor the Supreme is to surrender to the Supreme. A lot of times we think we know what's best for us. You know, that's why some of us spend a lot of time trying to, you know, what is the word? Petition the universe for things. I ask the universe to bring me, you know, a wife. And I told the universe I wanted her to look like this, I wanted her to look like that.
You make the deal with God. God, if you help me get this A on my assignment, I promise I'll quit Coke, you know, for a week, you know. I'll stop drinking
what?
this or that. You know,
Coca-Cola.
yeah, you know.
Sorry. Yeah, so you see a lot, and hey, that's okay. That's okay. You know what? The Supreme is here to help us. The Supreme is here to support us. That is perfectly okay. But you need to also be aware of the fact that what if the Supreme knows exactly what's best for you? Do you need to try and dictate everything? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Try with at least 5 out of 10 things in your life to surrender them. Okay, I really, really want a Grammy. I really, really want this. I mean, of all the things you really desire, try surrendering at least half of them. So you practice more surrender. Don't have expectations. Instead, go with the flow. Tomorrow I'll see what was meant for me. Tomorrow I'll see what I get. And whatever I get, I will accept as it being exactly what the Supreme wanted for me. Jayanti?
So the way I like to think of it, the universe works in like strange ways. The universe always seems to find a way to make everything fit into your life.
Right. Right. Yeah, it does happen in strange ways.
And it's always just right.
Right. Yes, in very strange ways. I thought I was going to get this, but instead I got that, and hey, it's better, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Or it wasn't supposed to be like that, but it happened that way. And so we need to learn to surrender as much as we can. But of course, whenever you need help, you should go to the Supreme. If you feel scared, you should go to the Supreme and ask for that help. When you feel sad, go to the Supreme. When you need something, go to the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is our true mother and father. So I'm not saying to not feel like you can't connect with it with her or him, with your father or mother. You know, no, you can connect however you want. But the best thing is to surrender.
Which is tough because it's almost like you're surrendering to yourself, to the version of yourself, like the deepest part of yourself that you don't even know you are.
Yeah.
Almost.
Because you are the Supreme.
Yeah, because you're the Supreme. But the mind is, like when you surrender, sometimes you surrender and your mind is the one that you end up surrendering to. But you're supposed to surrender to the way that deep inside you know the way things are.
Right.
You know you don't need that hot dog.
Okay. So we have 3 more to go. This.
2.
2 more.
2 more.
Yes. This. So, Visa means repulsive expression. And I will define the last one. Amrita, sweet expression. So isn't it interesting? We have 2 vritis that are the exact opposites right next to each other. Visa, which is repulsive expression, and Amrita, sweet expression. It's like the Anahata Chakra, where we have hope, we have asha, and we have chinta, worry. Right next to each other, the opposites. Right here, right next to each other, repulsive expression and sweet expression. What is repulsive expression? Repulsive expression is when you see something and you go, ugh. When you see a piece of feces and you go, ugh. Now, of course we do that because we are wired to have repulsive expression. But I'll tell you a quick story. We'll close very soon, but there was once a guru, very powerful guru. He was testing his disciples. He tested his disciples. He said, I want to test you. He wanted to test them. So he told the disciple, come here, son. And he said, do you love me? Do you trust me? And the disciple said, yes.
I love you, Baba.
Baba is an affectionate name for a lot of gurus. Yes, Baba. Yeah, I trust you. Okay, good, my boy, good. I want you to go over there behind that tree. I want you to find what's behind that tree, and I want you to eat it. And the disciple said, he says, what's the matter? Don't you trust me? And the disciple said, yes, Baba, yes, I trust you. Okay then, my boy. So the disciple goes dark at night. He walks over behind the tree, and he sees there that there's a rotting corpse. And the flesh is rotting there. And the disciple looks and he starts to shake, he starts to fear. He looks over at his guru, and his guru is just there, smiling. And he goes and he says, and he understands that he's being tested, and he takes the flesh, and he's about to, he puts it in his mouth. He trusts, he surrenders, he puts it in his mouth, and it's the sweetest taste that he's ever tasted in all his life. It's so sweet that he even takes another piece. And it just fills him, puts him in this samadhi state, as if his kundalinis, the nectar of sweetness comes. And so then he knows, and then he, obviously he knows, yes, I found the right guru. And so that is repulsive expression. When we see something and we're repulsed. But aren't we yogis, and don't we say that everything is an expression of supreme consciousness? So why would I look at one aspect of supreme consciousness and go, ugh, and another one go, ooh? They are both the supreme. And we should learn to embrace, like we were saying before, the negatives, the uglies, those scary things in life, the ugly things, the corpses, the death, the cemeteries, the worms, the howling wind. There's no reason to fear. We are in the universe. There is no way out. We are inside of the Supreme. So we shouldn't fear death. We shouldn't be repulsed. Everything is one.
Once you can master darkness, you can get to the light. You can't get to the light without mastering darkness. It won't work, because once you're in the light and darkness comes, you won't know how to deal with it. Just like the example.
That's why I love Dante's Inferno, because he goes through all the different realms of hell, and he goes through the belly of the beast, and like Pinocchio, he saves his father at the end of the
The
day.
thing about that, I feel like my energy connects more with darkness, because it's like when you're in the light too much, you can't see what's really going on. In the dark, when you're in darkness, it's like you can feel the presence of what's negative, what's not right. You know what I'm saying? In light, you just feel joy.
If you can't see what's going on, though, that's not really being in the light. That's being like ignorantly happy. But if you're like in the light, you would see it.
Okay, in the light, it's more like you're full of joy. You can't see what's going on negative.
It's like walking out from a movie theater, like you're blinded by the light, and your eyes need to adjust.
Yes. And so you're too much caught up in joy, happy, joy, and there's darkness, right? Coming from behind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean those people that are trying to avoid, let's say, the negative stuff are the same people that. Do we have to drive through that neighborhood? Oh my God, I don't want to go through that neighborhood because aren't there like criminals in that neighborhood? So I see your point. At the same time, though, we are searching for the light. Our spiritual journey has to do with going toward the subtle, toward the supreme.
I mean, if there are criminals in that neighborhood, should you be driving through that neighborhood?
Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing.
Like, there's some areas I wouldn't walk
You
through.
have to
There's
surrender.
some areas
there's
you definitely
like-
won't drive through.
Yeah, it's true.
Sometimes enlightenment is waiting on the other side of that.
Exactly. Once you can master your darkest points, your fear, out you come through the victory. You know what I'm saying? You come out with victorious because you're able to handle those situations. You're able to know how to deal with those situations because the light that's already within you can come through.
Yeah.
If you're already in the light, if you're just already surrounded by light,
Why not come
so
to
you're just
get
part of the
hurt by
light.
a criminal?
You know what I'm saying? So
Or
It
maybe
won't
you
overcome
have-
you.
Maybe
Yeah.
you have to drive through that neighborhood because
I'm
someone
not saying
was
you have to
doing
go to the neighborhood.
like there's no other way.
Come
So
on.
you are like, well, I have to drive through that neighborhood even though it's dangerous, but I have to because there's no other way. So maybe
I mean,
there's
what,
like a
I guess
metaphor,
what I
it's a
meant
metaphor.
is like when I lived in Baltimore, I had to walk through some pretty rough neighborhoods. But if it's like 2 a.m. at night,
That's not a good
and
idea.
like like why would I?
no, I mean
I would
but
rather
if
walk
there's
like
no
an extra
other
hour
way,
and not
there's
die.
no other way. I mean, it's just like I'm thinking that everything happens for a reason, and if you happen to have that only way, and you go through that, and then it's because your friend was there and he was attacked by criminals, and you saw him and you saved him. You know, it's just like maybe something happened everything happens for a reason, and you had to try.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea that everywhere, say even, in the midst of war, of some firefight, or, in the darkest, deepest corner of the worst neighborhood, sometimes people have to be like one of us, say, right, carriers of the light, have to be there to bring the light to those people that are there.
Exactly.
Like someone's got to be,
Exactly.
like maybe we're not particularly violent people, but you guys remember that one movie that was based on a true story, that one guy, Andrew Garfield, played this one guy who went to war, and he was in Vietnam or in World War II, but he swore that he wasn't going to shoot anyone, and he was in there in the
dark.
in the trenches, yeah. But he was there helping people and praying over people and patching people up, and people. If you're a being of light and you're only ever in the light, you can't ever bring that light to
To the
people in the darkness to
Exactly.
bring more light. Because it only takes one small flame in a huge room of darkness to.
Like Mother Teresa, she decided to work in the slums of Calcutta.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Perfect.
she went to where the criminals are. She went to where the poverty is, the prostitutes, the disease, everything. And she said, I think I'll build my church here.
Yeah, she went there to help
You
and
know?
not just drive through it. Like, I don't see how driving through. She just went and drove
I
through a
don't see how that
neighborhood,
relates
doesn't
to
do
like
anything.
driving through a rough neighborhood.
Well, okay, let's not misinterpret things. Be safe. Let's be practical. Let's be safe. But
Don't be wise.
but at the same time, anyways, let's go on to the next one. I think everybody made a very nice point. So last one, and we'll end with this. Okay, we'll just be very brief about this. Amrita, sweet expression. One nice interpretation of that is charisma. You know how you have your favorite teacher? Remember your favorite teacher? Think back to your school days. You never had one. Well, my favorite teacher, maybe let's say Mr. Craver, 12th grade. He used to buy weed from the students. Okay, but at the same time, he was just a great teacher. I mean, thanks to him, he gave me good advice. At one point, but he bought weed from the students. And anyways, but he had this Amrita in the sense. I'm speaking kind of in a mundane way. He was very charismatic, and a good teacher, or think of the people who are very charismatic. Those people that are very charming and likable. Those people have the Vishuddha Chakra well developed. And now if we take Amrita to be a little more spiritual, Amrita is also the sweetness, so sweet expression. So, sometimes when people take their mind to the Sahasrara Chakra, they feel that there's a nectar that's released, like a sweetness that goes down the chakras. And so that's like the sweet divine nectar of the Supreme. Sometimes in your meditation, you go into this samadhi state. It's almost like some sweetness has been released in you. So I'm just making a connection here. Okay? So the idea of sweet expression. So thank you so much for joining us today. Does anybody have any last burning comments or questions?
Ram Dass's teacher said to him, he was silent, and he wrote on a chalkboard. He said, "We're going to take up camp here." And they were in the middle of the jungle. And Ram Dass started looking around. He heard all the snakes and the animals in the dark. And his teacher could sense the fear in him. And so he wrote on his chalkboard. He turned it to Ram Dass, and on his chalkboard it said, "Yogis need not fear in jungle. Snakes no heart."
Okay. Thank you. All right then, everybody. This Sunday, it's possible we will meet in Washington, D.C. We found a location there to have Vistara Circle in D.C. So Sunday around 7 p.m. So look out for some updates on that. And also, we've started doing an online satsang. So if you'd like to have Vistara Circle online through Facebook Live, you don't have to come here physically. Say you're somewhere in Minnesota or in England. Please join us on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Namaskar.
Namaskar.